What's the difference between justice and vengeance? We're going to talk about that on today's Hot Zone.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. I'm up in Washington State. Came up here to do some reporting on the violence and unrest that we've seen in Seattle and down in Portland recently. Yesterday I got a chance to drive through what they called the chop zone, or the remains of that. The graffiti on all the walls, incredible amount of just profanity and even satanic symbols that we saw there. Fortunately for me, I got a chance to leave there and come out to this incredible place, right just about a mile from the Canadian border. And the reason we're here is because we're at a cowboy camp. That's kind of a Christian camp for young people to come and learn how to ride horses and rope and things like that. And I got a chance to meet up with my good friend, Dave Eubank. Now, you all know Dave Eubank from my time in Syria with him. He's the head of the Free Burma Rangers. And I sat and talked with him for a little bit about just what's going on in America today. And I also got a chance to talk to him about his new book, which is called Do This for Love. And I think when you listen to this interview, you'll see how Do This for Love really fits well with what his take is on what we need to fix the problems in America that we see right now. Check it out.
The main reason for me to write the book is a testimony of what God's done, and hopefully point people to Jesus. Number two, to help people understand and love each other, especially in people in conflict areas that we work. Number three is to set the historical record. This is what we saw happen. It's not all the record, but it's the record we saw. This is the truth as we saw it. This is what happened. You're a very good writer, Chuck, and your books have changed my life and improved my life. And it made me laugh, made me cry, convicted me of sin, motivated me, taught me things, and you write very well. I really like how you write. I love reading your books. I'm not much of a writer, and so when I'm writing, I'm just trying to tell the truth and not hide anything, and it's like an offering, and I feel like some people have been given 10 talents, some 1, but it's like I've got 1 in terms of writing, and I pick it up and say, God, this is what I see. Please use it and let it be what it is. For example, when I look at this book, it may not be a good book, but I know it's true, and I know it points to God. I know it honors people, and that's the best I can do. The book starts in the Battle of Mosul. Do This for Love, the Free Burma Rangers in the Battle of Mosul. And so it's focused on Mosul and the fight against ISIS and trying to help people there. It also goes back. How did we get there? I grew up as a missionary kid in Thailand, born in Texas before that, and my parents are still there as missionaries, 90-year-olds and 88, going for it, following Jesus. And then we go into the call. I was in the military, and then I get out and go to seminary, get called by an ethnic group in Burma saying, please come and help us. This was in 1993, so it goes into a little of that. How we started the Free Burma Rangers, the 70-year-old conflict in Burma, our team's response, and in the midst of that response, getting invited in 2014 to go to Sudan, that's mentioned briefly, and then 2015 in February to go to Iraq and help the Kurds who were being attacked by ISIS. And so in 2015 we go to Iraq and as well as Syria, and then 2016 and 17 is the Battle of Mosul. And that's really the heart of the book, is the Battle of Mosul.
What would you have thought if, when you started this thing in 1994 or whatever it was, that if somebody had shown you a picture of what it looks like today?
I would say, no way. That's God. That is God. Because 1993 is when we got invited to Burma. In 1993, I got invited to Burma, and I got married the same year. Well, neither of those, I wanted to be married, but I couldn't control either of those events. And then Burma, okay, that's understandable. I grew up in Thailand, it's next door. And it's a jungle war, I'm an old infantryman. Okay, go. But then in the midst of Burma, and the way that happened, I really thank God that the people of Burma called us. It wasn't my idea. And then doors opened miraculously for us to cross borders extra legally to get to places and not get killed or captured. And then that was going on and all kinds of miracles happened. I mean, we were arrested twice in a different country and both times released with these words: what you're doing is good for the people of Burma, good for our country, and are to be praised. Don't get caught again. And then let us go. Why did they do that? In fact, after one interrogation, this guy comes in after interrogating my wife. He goes, I like your wife better than you. And because when I asked her, aren't you afraid to be in our hands? She said, yes, I'm very afraid. I'm afraid I won't be able to be with the people I love. And he said, I just started to cry. That's love. And he said, we're going to let you go. Our bosses want to keep you, but we know it's right. I mean, that's just God. So we've been through many things that we know God did for us. And then from Burma, which we understand, and I speak some of the languages, comes an invitation to Sudan. Sudan? Well, that's kind of cool. I want to go there. Go there. And then Iraq. I didn't want to go there. Or Syria. No, I don't need to go there. And we get invited there. And then we didn't just get invited. We were in Burma when our friend Victor Marks, along with Jackie Isaacs, had this program to go into to help the Kurds, the Yazidi women who had been raped by ISIS and all this and escaped. And they said, hey, Free Burma Rangers, you should come. Well, I got that by satellite email. I was in Burma. Burma Army all around me. Get here in 7 days. It took us 19 days to walk around them. But God opened a way. The Burma Army moved to chase us, but left the gap open. We covered about 80 miles in 3 days. Got to a border that we shouldn't have been able to cross. Crossed it smoothly. 7 days later, from Shan State, Burma, through 2 different countries, I'm in it, and then to Thailand, I'm in Iraq. I'm like, God, you did this. Looking at the fields of Nineveh, the Nineveh plains, and Mosul's just beyond, the black flags of ISIS, I asked God, how do I pray? The ISIS would be stopped, that enemies would turn into friends, the Kurds would be free. These are my 3 prayers. And then I said, God, what do I do about it? And I felt God say, give up your own way, give up the Free Burma Ranger way, just come help these people. Really? Yeah. And so then we were in Kurdistan on Sinjar Mountain with the Yazidis, with ISIS around us, and the IDPs on top. We're living in tents, and Chuck, you were there a couple times with us, including during a chemical attack. And all of a sudden, a guy comes from Syria saying, I heard about you guys. I heard you're this NGO that prays a lot. I'm a Christian too. Can you come and help us in the front lines in Syria? And then when the Battle of Bashika and Sinjar was over, when the Kurds had defeated ISIS in the Kurdish part of Iraq, we thought, what do we do now? And Chuck, you came for that also on the front line of Bashika. And by November the 19th, that was done. But the Battle of Mosul was just starting. And you could see the edge of Mosul from beyond Bashika. And we said, God, do you want us there or not? We don't know anybody. And we had a prayer. And then when the prayer was over, 9 a.m. on the 19th of November, I got a phone call from a big NGO in Erbil that said, we got a ton of food. We don't have any way to deliver it because we're not allowed to go to the front line. Will you do it? That's how we got into with the Iraqis. You know, we made fun of the Iraqis. Ashamed to say I did. I made fun of them. Now I'm with them. And the Iraqi general who met us, he goes, Dave, after he met us, he goes, you know the worst 2 things? And, well, first I have to tell you this. I prayed to God that my country be safe from ISIS. I prayed to Allah to be safe. And he sent me the worst 2 things. An American Christian. The worst. And we became brothers. And I learned to love the Iraqis. I mean, the biggest presence I got out of the Iraq war in Mosul against ISIS, and it's in the book, it's 2 things. God's gift for me to love the Iraqi people. I love them in general, not just specifically. I love them specifically too, but in general, I just like them. Wow, that's my heart changed. Second, I learned the difference between justice and revenge. And the only way you get justice is with love. Because if someone's hurt you, it's very natural and normal to really be angry and want to crush them. You want revenge. And you'll call it justice, and they should pay. But if it's wrapped up in hate, that'll be revenge that will do them no good. And at worst, because you're not really responsible for them at that point, that hate is not going to stop till it comes back to you. That's the way Satan operates.
Isn't that what we're seeing right now with these Black Lives Matter protests? I mean, that they want justice, but it's motivated out of hate.
Right, and I think that we all have to have justice. Black people need justice, brown people need justice, white people, everybody needs it. And I can understand the anger and the rage a black person would have from oppression, and they're right to be mad. But I learned from my experience when ISIS killed this little girl next to me that I had a love relationship with. She's a 3-year-old. America, America. I thought, wow, we got to liberate this place. I talked to Monkey, our pastor. Isn't it great? And 30 minutes later, she goes to her family. This when ISIS nails them. Boom, they're dead. And we rescue the rest of the family. But she's dead. Something broke in me, and I was so angry. And I just said, Monkey, our pastor, we're going to give food, medicine, shelter, share the love of Jesus, and kill every ISIS we can find. That's justice. I'm sure it is. And I was crying. And I still feel it. Because you can't, as a father, I can't live like that. And so I understand oppression and injustice. But when I asked God how to deal with it, I opened the Bible 3 times in a row. He said, vengeance is mine, says the Lord, I will repay. Vengeance? That's justice. No, vengeance. I called it justice, but it wasn't, because I couldn't care less about any Iraqi person, what their past, their present, their future. They should just die. And so I said, Jesus, I give up justice. I give up revenge. Please forgive me. And it was like a 2,000-pound weight just whoosh, off my shoulder. I didn't know I carried it because I thought it was justice. No, it was revenge. And that hate, I thought, as we went into battle that day with the Iraqi army against ISIS again, I felt light and freed. Even though I fought them later and I got shot point blank and I shot them, I never hated them. And so if you want justice, you have to ask God for love. And the most important thing is the supernatural power of Jesus. Because when I said, I give up revenge, please forgive me, he did his part, which was he instantly healed me of that hate. It was like, gone. I don't think a person could do that. If I was a black person or brown person or white who was oppressed by some other person, I can't just think my way through this and forgive them. I can't. I can't. But that was one of the more recent times where I thought Jesus is real. Because he just took it from me. Like surgery. I didn't hate him. And of course you can hate ISIS. That's a terrible name and a terrible organization, but not the people. You might even have to shoot them. But that'll be finally in the end, maybe for their good. I don't know. That's the last step. But you don't have to hate. And so to me, I look at it like this. If my child, who I love completely, does wrong, really wrong, and hurts me, I am angry. And I punish them, one, honestly, so I feel a little better, like there's some justice was done. That's not a very good motive, but it's in there. But really, so that they won't do it again. Because not only it's destructive here, I'm concerned about their future, not just with other people, but their own character. So the punishment is always prayed over. You really made me mad. So I'm going to do this till you learn. And I stop and calm down and pray. And I try to pray with my kids and say, let's pray together. What's the right punishment? How will you learn? And then if you approach a criminal that way, or if you're a white person or a black person, a white policeman's unfairly arrested you, when you approach that police chief or that police officer, first is pray. God, help me do this in love. Help me love that man. I don't love him at all. But if you say, I will do it, God, with your help, you watch what happens with your heart. Then you can approach it. And maybe that police officer needs to go to jail. Maybe he does. Maybe that's the best thing for him. But whatever the punishment is wrapped up in what's best for him too. And that's love. And then you're free.
Okay, folks, that's all we've got for today. Thanks for watching The Hot Zone. I'm going to be out in the Pacific Northwest for the next week or so reporting on the violence. So we'll have more from Seattle and from Portland. But for now, I'm going to just enjoy this beauty. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2019.